Use the code CHICKEN in the shop.
Guys, it's time to Clash Chicken. In today's video, guys, we are at 1 whole year of Clash Quest. Clash Quest has been in beta for a year at this point, so we're going to talk about kind of state of the game. And I found this cool article. This is on Pocket Gamer or something. I'll link it down below. But yeah, I thought this would be cool to touch on. They actually wrote this at the end of February, so I may have mentioned it before, but there's some cool stuff in here, and we'll at the end we'll talk a little bit about where the game is currently and all that kind of thing. But guys, you want to stay up to date on every single thing that is Clash Quest. Make sure you subscribe right here, and we will keep you informed as the game gets updated, goes live, gets killed, all that stuff. We will be talking about here. So this is an interview with what's the guy's official title? Supercell game lead Tuco Takokalia. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry, but let's just get into it. So they ask him, where did the initial idea for Clash Quest come from? Also, I wanted to read this because it'd be kind of cool to reflect on, how Clash Quest got started and all that stuff. So let's get into it. So Supercell says, every project at Supercell has had its own unique development journey, and the story of Clash Quest is no different. Usually a new project gets kicked off at Supercell when a small group of people come together and start working on a game or a few prototypes. So typically, first there is a team, and after that comes a game. However, Clash Quest got started more like a side game project that only later evolved into a full game team. In August 2018, I was working as a game lead for Everdale and started thinking how we could combine Clash troops with a new type of puzzle gameplay. If you guys don't know, Supercell, they've been trying to make this like puzzle-style game a few times now. We've seen, I think, Spooky Pop, we've seen Heyday Pop, and now a totally different take on it is Clash Quest. And yeah, let's keep reading. So he was working as a game lead for Everdale, started thinking how they could combine troops with a new type of puzzle gameplay. His feeling back then was that puzzle games had evolved to a quite specific direction, dominated by only a few core mechanics, mainly match 3 or blast mechanics. If you guys have played any of those, those games where the ads are everywhere with like the Gardenscape guy or whatever, it's basically the same game. And there's like a million of those types of apps. So he's saying he wanted to go in a different direction from that. And they felt that there was still much more to be explored in the puzzle space. So he goes on to say that he initially wrote a quick design draft, the idea, and showed it to some people. A few weeks later, they talked to one of the developers who had finished a project and was looking for something new. Show them the concept. They got excited. They quickly decided to start building a prototype for the game. For the next 9 months or so, they iterated the prototype together and tweaked the design. He was still working on Everdale at this time and only worked on the design side, whereas the other guy was fully working on it, creating everything from art to code. At some point after iterating the game enough, they felt like it was ready for an actual company-wide playable, and then from there, it developed a little bit more. Next question: what have you enjoyed most about working on Clash Quest? From the get-go, the goal was to build a new type of puzzle game that would utilize the magic of Clash characters. We want to make a puzzle game that would not be a copy of any other game out there. The most fun part of the challenge has been just this: how to create something new that would still be fun and intuitive to play, not an easy challenge. So basically he's saying that they're trying to go a whole new route with this game while still keeping it very pick up and play for the casual player. Curiously, some people have made the comparison that this game is similar to Match 3 games, whereas others have said it's similar to Legend of Soulguard. I'm not personally familiar with that. While it does share some similarities between both games, say with Soulguard in terms of having power progression in a linear map, I think the actual core gameplay mechanics are quite different. In my experience, whenever you change some design fundamentals, the whole game needs to be built in a different way. I don't think many players will notice these differences, but they can have a big impact on how the game needs to be built. For example, just the fact that in Clash Quest, the match end trigger is running out of troops instead of, say, running out of turns has a big impact on many things. Not having a clear reference game makes development harder, but also provides lots of fun new design challenges for the team. So it's totally new. Let's go on to the next question. What has been the biggest challenge or setback you've had to overcome during development? This one will be interesting. So he says, as always in development, there are many small challenges and setbacks that you need to deal with. I think building the team, maintaining momentum, figuring out the right scope for the beta, and so on were all difficult challenges. I don't think we faced any one particular major setback during the development, though, nor did we do any major pivots. Figuring out how to communicate the attack outcomes the clearest way to the players has been one of the challenges we've spent a lot of time iterating on. Making the troop behavior as intuitive as possible and finding ways to teach players how the different troops behave in the game was one of the main challenges for us. For example, the possibility to preview the attacks by tapping and holding was implemented to help players learn how the attacks would play out and therefore help them better strategize the next move and eventually master the game rather than just kind of throwing out your troops randomly and just, trying to keep track in your head of how much damage they do and what they're going to take down. Next question: Have there been additional stages in developing a game with an already established IP? It is an interesting challenge and a great opportunity at the same time. To use an existing IP for a game, for one, an existing IP provides a lot of interesting building blocks to play around with. For us, the most natural starting point for the game was to use the troops and defenses from the Clash world. It's a great benefit to have lots of cool content that many players are already familiar with. On the other hand, adapting the visual style to fit both the game and the IP was not easy. We tried many different art styles, some more detailed and visually complex, some very casual and simplistic. The final visual style was settled on because we felt it supported the gameplay the best, with clear and simple characters are easier to read and interact with on a small puzzle grid. This is one of the things that I think Clash Quest has nailed. It's just the art style. It's really good. Everything just looks, good, and it's easy to jump out at you as in the Clash universe. What did you learn from the soft launch period, and were there any changes you enacted as a result? This will be interesting. He goes on to say there's been tons of learning for us. We want to go to beta with quite a minimalistic and bare-bone version of the game, and we ended up cutting out a lot of features that we envisioned being in the game from the initial beta release. The idea was that we could test out the core gameplay with real users as fast as possible and see if it had promise or not. During the beta, we have implemented a lot of these missing features such as clans and clan league, which we added in our big November update last year. That was a huge update. But yeah, it's definitely a different style of beta compared to, some other games that come out in beta. Typically when a company releases an app or a game into their beta launch, it's almost already a finished project. And here we can see, and they've said that it's they took a different route with this because they kind of wanted to build it from the ground up with the players being able to play it. So I think that's an interesting way to do it for sure. One of the learnings for us has been to understand what type of players our current core users are. Currently, they seem to be quite strategic players who understand the depth in our game and enjoy brainy puzzles. While many players do enjoy the strategic planning, some players won't get this far and instead quit early. We think they too often feel like they didn't make any meaningful progress and hit a difficulty wall they can't pass. We think at its current form, some players see the game too hard and perhaps also too deterministic. That's 100% true. And I think that goes along with the people that are playing the game a lot during the beta. They're going to be very competitive. They're going to be playing for leaderboard purposes. They're going to be, in the Discord, in the Reddit. They're going to know the ins and outs and everything. So, yeah, I think that plays a big part on where he says that people really like the strategy. But I think the big issue that continues to happen with the game is that it is, like you said, too deterministic, where you can't really build decks and stuff for specific levels or going against people. It's all kind of, as you level up your troops, you get farther. In our next update, we want to provide players with more cool action moments while also adding some more depth to the gameplay. We were hoping to address this by introducing a new set of collectibles. So this article was written before the last update came out. The collectibles he's talking about are runes. Troops can now equip runes, providing powerful but rare effects that can affect the outcomes of the battle in cool and surprising ways. What will be your approach to live ops once the game is released? So live ops just means naturally, maybe not naturally, but just reoccurring events in the game, like in Boom Beach, or stuff that happens weekly. Dr. T or Hammerman's Fleet or whatever. Things like that. That just like what's going to be the core gameplay that kind of runs in and out. He goes on to say, our plan is to make the game world feel more alive and to provide more variety and depth to the game over time. In the future, we're hoping to provide much more content with a steady cadence and also add new cool twists to the core gameplay. New updates would also add new regions on the map. The regions, of course, introduce a lot of new levels, but also new troops, spells, tactics, items, bosses, etc. Adding more varied content and also gameplay twists will create a lot of different permutations and challenges for players to defeat and master. Of course, Supercell has a high bar for any new release. We take the decision to launch a game or not very seriously, so first we want to develop the game to its full potential before making any decisions on a potential global launch. So that's what I got from the article, guys. And I thought it would be cool just to read this and, give you kind of Supercell's take on where the game is. I think this is the most recent, like full in-depth interview they've done on Clash Quest. So wanted to touch on that, and then yeah. So we're 1 year into beta. That's a long time. If we look at some of the other games that they killed, I don't believe they were around for that long, except maybe maybe some of the older ones that I'm forgetting. But in recent years, they haven't let a game go into beta. For I think the longest was 4 or 5 months, something like that. I forget when Everdale was announced. Maybe it's up there now, but yeah. So overall, I think we're in a good spot, guys. I'm excited for the future of this game. It sounds like there's a lot of work going into it, and I think it's got a lot of potential. So we'll see. But I want to know your guys' thoughts. You let me know what you think about the first year of Clash Quest. What would be your review or summary, or what do you want to see next? For me personally, I want to see some sort of PvP where we can play against each other and have a little bit more strategy involved in the game. So, like I said, if you want to stay up to date on everything that's Clash Quest, guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Keep you updated on everything, and thank you so much for watching. Catch you the next one. Chicken out. Back.